Hi everybody and welcome to Hillbilly Herpetology. I'm Webb. Please, if you enjoy the video, like, subscribe, comment. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithms and gets us moving right along. So today we're going to be doing something a little different, as you can see from my surroundings. We're out in nature right now. Hopefully I find a few cool critters out here, but that's not the main goal of today. The main goal of today is we're going to be field collecting different things that you can use inside of your enclosure that will not only help you with bioactive enclosures, getting that bioactivity going on in there, but also help you save a lot of money. Now, here in America, a lot of people have been told over and over again that it's really, really bad to collect things from out in the wild and bring them into your enclosure, that you're opening up a host of diseases and parasites. And I'm here to tell you that I use a lot of collected stuff from the wild, and I've seen no ill effects in my animals at all. And beyond that, I don't have to buy isopods. I don't have to buy springtails because they're all out here in nature anyway. And beyond that, I hope that most people realize that the crickets and things that you're buying from the pet store have the potential to be loaded with parasites. And in general, a lot of reptiles have the tendency to have parasites already. A lot of your reptiles are going to have parasites. The thing is, if you're keeping them in good husbandry and in good condition, those parasites are not going to get to the point where they're out of control and they're causing health problems for your animal. So if you're keeping your animal correctly, a lot of times it's still going to have parasites. You don't realize it, but they do. It's just it's a healthy enough animal that the parasite infection doesn't get to the point where it's hurting your animal. They're there. So that being said, that's why I don't worry too much about the parasites. There are certain animals I wouldn't suggest doing this with. I personally would question doing this with some snakes that have potential to have problems with mites and things, although I've never found a problem with mites out here. I feel like the 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 times that it's going to happen, okay, you're still saving a buttload of money when it doesn't happen. And the off chance that it does happen, you buy mites that are predatory mites, and you put those in your enclosure. They eat the other mites. They run out of mites to eat. They die off, and the problem is solved there. And you've saved enough money in the long run by not going and buying everything at the pet store, that if you have to pay for a treatment 1 out of 100 animals that you're taking care of, then okay, you got to pay for that. So just keep that in mind. This is not for everybody. This is going to be one of those controversial things. And if this isn't something that you agree with, that's okay. Everybody has different ways of doing things and different ways of taking care of things, and I'm big into promoting that. Like, I'm not going to go and diss on somebody for the way they do something, because there's more than one way to skin a cat. That's what I always say when it comes to this stuff. There's more than one way to skin a cat, and just because I do something differently than you doesn't mean it's wrong, as long as I have healthy animals that are well taken care of. And, I believe results speak for themselves. So, for example, if somebody shows me their collection of crested geckos and they only give water out of the water bowl, who am I to say, hey, they don't drink out of the water bowl, if they have a healthy collection of crested geckos that are obviously getting their moisture from somewhere and are fine? So most of us would say they don't drink out of water bowls. You got to spritz to get them to drink. But once again, more than one way to skin a cat. I like open-mindedness when it comes to taking care of the animals. That's how you progress. That's how you go further into the hobby, is having an open mind when it comes to taking care of things. And, let's get on with it. Okay, the first find of the day here. So it's not fall time, so leaf litter is hard to find. But I found these nice small leaves here, and I'm going to go ahead and bag some of these up, and I'm going to take these home. When you're doing bioactives, you always have to add leaf litter, so that way the isopods and springtails and things like that in there have something to eat, and it breaks it down and it turns it back into the soil. So here's my collection kit. I've got several different things in here. I've got one container for isopods, I've got one container for springtails, I've got a couple of baggies, one to collect moss, one to collect leaves, and I'll probably end up gathering some dirt somewhere from the woods here too. So that's what usually goes in the bucket. So I'm going to go ahead and bag these up, and we'll be back with another clip. Okay, so I've got a little bit deeper into the woods here, and I found little bits of moss. The only thing that sucks whenever you don't find the big clumps is you got to pick up a lot of little moss to make a good amount. But we're going to start collecting some of this. Looks like there's some more back there on a rock. So there are rules to this, guys. One thing I wanted to mention, you need to go to find a place that's not polluted. As you can see, I got a friend who's got a property who has acres and acres, and there's not a bit of anything that shouldn't be in the woods here. So you do not want to do this in an area that there's a lot of pollution. That is the one thing that is bad. It's wet outside today, so there's a lot of earthworms. If you're out and about and you're collecting things, go ahead and pick these up too, because these guys here are great for a bioactive enclosure. You put them in the soil in your enclosure, and it just keeps everything working the way it's supposed to. They're digesting bad things, pooping out good things, all of the sorts, and a lot of your animals will eat them too. So I have plenty of cork bark at home, but something like this is perfect for a little hide. It's got moss on it already, looks beautiful. There's all kinds of good stuff in it. Great to throw in a tank. So for dirt, what I like to do, I like to find a spot like this, where it's in between trees. You gotta look at the fact, anything that's in here is gonna be fresh dirt. This is freshly decomposed dirt. And it's gonna be fertile, it's gonna be all the good things in it. Plus there's going to be a lot of the good bioactive critters living up in here because it's in the middle of these trees. So I'm going to collect some of that. Looky here, guys. Wild strawberries. Now, I've eaten these. They're not quite sweet like we like them, but these things are going to be great for the crested geckos, so I'll collect some of those as well. Okay, we're getting ready to leave the woods. I just figured since he barked in the video earlier, I'd show you. I have my little buddy Scooby with me too. All right, Scoob? Did you come with me today? Yeah. So he was the barker earlier. He thought he seen something. But what we're gonna do now is we're gonna head back to the house, out the woods, and we are going to put together an enclosure with the stuff that we just found. So I'm leaving the woods and I flip a rock, and lo and behold, my first brown snake of the year. I believe this is just a common brown garter snake found here in Ohio, or brown banded snake, something like that. It's a little one. Didn't think I was going to find anything today, but it's a lucky surprise right here as I'm walking out. There's Scooby, photobombing. But really cool. All right, so I'm going to try to do this part fast because I feel like we've already got a pretty long video going here. So the only thing I didn't find that we're going to be putting in this enclosure is clay balls. Watch out, this will be a little bit loud. This is the drainage layer, and then it also just helps you keep air going through the soil, keep everything going good there. After that, we put the actual soil in. Now here it's important to remember that you're going to need to open this front door. But if you want to get more dirt in there, you can always slant it towards the back a little higher, and that'll be just fine, and you'll still be able to get in the door. But this is a versicolor that we're going to be putting in here, so they don't really need a whole bunch of dirt. We're just going to put enough in here to cover the clay balls up. Give the little critters, the bioactive critters in there, enough space to live. We'll pack it down a little bit, and we've got the worms and stuff going in here. Okay. Now, this is an arboreal species. So we're going to take and put pieces of wood in here that it can web up to and that it can get behind and hide if it would like to. Now, take some of this moss that we collected. Gorgeous, gorgeous moss. And as long as you keep this moss moist and provide dim lighting for it, it will continue to grow in your enclosure. And the great thing that I love the most about moss is it retains water so good. Like, one of the best things for retaining moisture in your enclosure is a nice layer of moss. And I've noticed the tarantulas tend to like it. Okay, now we'll throw some leaf litter in here. And bam, just like that, we have a beautiful naturalistic enclosure that we got everything from the wild to make. And I've got springtails and stuff in here already because it all came from the woods. It's all already on it, guys. That's the beauty of this. So now I'm gonna get set up and we'll throw the Versacolor in here. And here we have her. Not quite full adult coloration yet with the patterning on the abdomen, but getting pretty close here. She is a beautiful tarantula. She's gonna go on a walkabout here. So, with these guys, they're not an aggressive tarantula, as you can see. They can have a tendency to jump, and they like to move up. So I just kind of maneuvered around there to where she would go in. Now, if this was an old world tarantula, we would never, ever, ever hold her like that. And honestly, a lot of New Worlds I wouldn't. But I've messed with the Carabiner Versacolors quite a bit, and I know that they're fairly easy to mess with and to get to rehouse. Now we're gonna put the lid on this good girl here. And I'll put a water dish in here. So we're definitely big enough for that. Oh. And there you have it.